And yesterday and today, of course, the focus is more on the economic development of the country. Well, Namibia's agenda for economic reform is set by the government and addresses the problems of the high poverty and extreme inequality of a dualistic economy, which emanates from a mineral-based enclave from the past policy of racial segregation, which restricted, of course, many of the benefits of education and other social services to the privileged. Today, we focus some of the key plans and policies that were put in place by President Geingob to help Namibia navigate through poverty and ensure that everybody is part of the Namibian house and that no one is left behind. And for that, we start off today's program, of course, with Mr. Karamata, Chief Executive Officer at the Economic Association of Namibia. Very good morning to you, Mr. Karamata, and thank you so much for making time to join us.
Good morning, Ricardo, and thanks for having me.
Well, from an economic standpoint, can you kindly contextualize the current status quo of the Namibian economy?
Well, the economy is clearly experiencing a revival. We are overall still recovering from the impact of COVID-19, but we are starting to see some signs of a rebound. Last year, Q3, we received that positive news of a 7% growth rate. This is tremendous. This is good news. And we are also seeing a diversification away from the traditional mining activities, from agriculture, now more towards the energy sector, renewable energy, the huge investments in oil and gas. And this is a reason for hope. It's a reason to believe that we might get the economy back on a growth path, create the necessary jobs, and hopefully reduce income inequality in our country, which is unfortunately still high.
How would you describe the role that the EAN plays in advancing the economic development in Namibia?
Well, the EAN role is to bridge the gap between government, the private sector, and civil society. It is more of a catalyst role to economic development, and we do this by conducting research. We do this by influencing public policy. We do this by creating platforms for public dialogue to bring the various stakeholders together to interact and to cooperate. And this is critical for economic development. Our overall goal, of course, is to drive those type of public policies that lead to economic transformation and social progress in our country.
Would you say the late president did enough to, when it comes to policies, to include everybody?
Well, as we can see in the president's leadership role in implementing Harare Prosperity Plan, his drive to attract investors to Namibia, especially in the energy space, his focus on social welfare, on taking care of the elderly, I think we can confidently say that the president was committed to inclusivity. He was committed to inclusivity. Of course, the road towards an inclusive society and economy is going to be a long one. It is an ongoing one. But I think the president laid strong foundations for future action to bring about a more equitable economy in Namibia.
What will you remember the late president for?
Well, I think his drive to bring investors to Namibia, especially in the energy space, and more especially around the green hydrogen project, I think that will be his legacy. I think that one day when Namibia produces our first ton of green hydrogen and actually put a product on the world market, I think we will think about the president. We will remember him for his passion and his drive in initiating this process.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Karamata, for making time to join us.
Thank you, Ricardo, and thank you for having me.
Well, of course, that's the Chief Executive Officer of the Economic Association of Namibia, think tank, of course, that puts together and leads and creates platforms for conversation around economic development and economic advancement. That's the Economic Association of Namibia. When we